welcome back. I've been kind of lazy this month and a half. Sorry. I was trying to think of something clever to say. I've been busy, I've been doing that. I've just been lazy for getting out videos, that is, anyway. But no, this time of year though on the farm, there's not a lot of as fun filming stuff. But I did get some video over this past month of us rebuilding a cornhead. This one is actually the second head. This is not the one we rebuilt. This is the second auction find we found. This one was in better shape than the first one. As we'll go through this video, I'll kind of point that out. This video is going to be kind of chopped up because it was filmed over about a month's time. So if it doesn't flow very well, it's because I can't remember where I left off last. But no, this is the second head we went through. Things seemed a lot better on this one than the first one. We knew on the first one though that we'd have to rebuild it and go through everything. That's typically what to expect when you go through and buy stuff on an auction, especially maybe cornheads. Not a lot of people get rid of new stuff on auctions, so you just kind of assume you're gonna have to touch some things up. But this one was actually in decent shape. It had some roller cones on the side. For those you know, they're sitting over there. We took those off. And question for you, those of you guys that know anything about stock stompers, for the life of us, we cannot figure out what flavor those kinds of stock stompers are. I've been searching online and I can't seem to find it, and there's cobweb on. So if any of you know, leave it in the comments below. Just out of curiosity, we usually never run stock stompers on our cornheads, so we were just interested to see who built those. No, so this one's pretty much done. There's still some small stuff we gotta go. I don't know. I guess I didn't check the side oil and stuff, but this one's pretty well done. It won't take much to have it field ready. My brother went through, he adjusted the deck plates and all that stuff on this one, the deck plates being these guys. But nope, I'll go through the video here. Like I said, it's gonna be chopped up, so it may not make sense, but let's try to get through this together, guys. So I started kind of recording while my brother was here, and sometimes I get embarrassed. So I'll kind of talk you through what I did. I was recording and I'll just kind of tell you what I did. But we start here with the Romax intermeshing stock rolls. We got to pull the other ones off, and then we put these new ones on. Basically they slide off, and then we put these new ones back on.
Perfect place for everybody to work out. Even me, Mr. Houses. If you're inside and play jaw rest, my rollers
50% off coats and jackets for men and for girls, and 40 to 65% off.
Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults have... skills like how to get the right measurements, stay on and even when to call in the pros to finish the job. Get the help you need to tackle your bathroom project with Homeowner 101 workshops.
And so that brings us up to where we are now. And it's putting the chains, the deck plates, and redoing the spring tensions, and also adding this replaced the plastic ones. These are steel chain guides. A lot better. It's kind of one of those things you wonder why they didn't do in the first place, but it is what it is, and now they've upgraded them. And so I'll kind of go through now and show you how I am putting these on here. You got to reuse these old pieces and you got to take them apart, and they're put together just enough that they stink to get apart sometimes because, well, I'll show you here in a sec. And so these are the old plastic guides. They warp. I can see why they wanted to replace them, because they just don't, they're not good. So what stinks though is we got to take them apart. I'm going to take all the nuts out of them, bolts. While we're doing that, come over here. I kind of got my system set up where it's all dirty. And when you first start, you hope it just comes off with the impact, but sometimes it doesn't, because the way those are put on there, it created a lot of gunk and rusted. Luckily, it came off on that one. Set my wrench on this jam nut to get it the rest of the way off. That releases that. So now this comes apart, and you have to slide this old guide off the way it worked, which you'll see will kind of give us a plastic piece like that to begin with, but that goes in the scrap yard. Still got the jam nut, or the regular nut in there. We take the jam nut. I keep everything except we're replacing the springs just because I want to have the right tension. Might be able to reuse them, but might as well start with the right springs anyway. Gonna settle my junk off to the side of the next one, because right now I gotta go get my deck plates. So this Cornhead is equipped with hydraulic deck plates. What that is, as you can see on this side over here, this will actually move. There's a shaft that goes there, and we're kind of near the center. And this is kind of dirty, but this is a cylinder in here that slides in and out, and that controls your deck plates. This little gap here, this will allow that to get wider and narrower depending on the width of the corn stalk or the trash that you need to manage. The higher the residue or the width of the stalk, you're going to open this up. This is going to pull this out. That's going to allow for more trash and residue to go through there. Versus if you got a smaller stalk or lower yielding, typically you'll kind of close it in a little bit more. And I'll show you kind of how we set that gap. You still got to set that gap first, but right now we got to get the chain guards. So since this guy up here is meant to slide back and forth, you kind of got to have some bushings in here. I don't know if you call them bushings, but you kind of have some, it's got to be able to slide, so you put a little bushing washer thingy-majig so it's able to slide underneath there okay. Sometimes when you're working with a little bit of rust, it doesn't like to thread all the way. I don't think I had the right angle on, but this bolt over here has like a little bushing that goes underneath of it, so this deck plate can slide back and forth. And this one's static or standard or doesn't move, so he just bolts it right to the frame. Oh yeah, I forgot about the, sorry. You can tell this one's meant to be on the sliding one because it's got a little bit of a gap there, or a space. And so you find the plastic one that has that same space in it. It should slide right up. Might take a little bit of force. So I'm reusing some of this old hardware, like the bolts and stuff. It seemed to be okay. Got to put him back underneath there. Oop. Right now, kind of an important thing is to get the right spacing between your deck plates to start out with. Even though they're adjustable, the manual wants you to have a little bit narrower spacing and a little bit wider spacing in the back. So when that comes through, it's going to be able to get rid of that trash correctly. Because if you have it narrower in the back, it's going to pinch it off and not cut the corn off quite how it's supposed to. So they just want a little bit wider in the back. And so my brother, the last time we did this, created these guides, and I can't remember the spacing, just you'll have to look it up in the manual, but all I know is these are the right gaps, and he put rear for the rear end, which is a little bit wider, and then the front for the front. And so you want to make it consistent. So I kind of always got a point. I always go off the front here, off this kind of this gap area right in here, and then I slide this rear one towards the back, and you want to make sure this one's kind of pushed clear to the right side, and then I start to slide this one over. These will be tightened up here in a little bit, and that's going to create that right gap for that deck plate. So on this side, I'm going to slowly tighten them up. You want to make sure when you're doing that, that the spacing doesn't get affected. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to make sure I'm keeping tension on these gaps so these things aren't sliding around. So then I should be able to check them again. See, no slack, pulls right out though, and that should be set. That's kind of how that should look. Also, what my brother did before is after a while, sometimes you'll be, say you hit something or one side should be pretty level. Before that, my brother would come along here and put these little shims right there. If you can see that silver piece in there, if you loosen that up, you can shove little shims in there. We actually got those from Cornhead. That's where we learned that from. And so what that does is make your deck plates nice and level, so when that corn's coming in there, it's going to have a pretty balanced landing on that deck plate, because that's what's going to rip off your ear eventually. And then these gathering chains are going to drag it on up. Because sometimes they'll get pretty far out of whack, and if you got one way higher than the other, I don't know if I recorded that beforehand, but the one on the end and some of these were kind of out of whack, and so we came along here and my brother leveled them up, and so they should be ready to go on these deck plates, which, as you can see, that one looks pretty good. And that one looks pretty good. And now it's time to put the gathering chain, well, no, excuse me. We gotta put these springs, tensioner springs on. So the thing I'm gonna do now is get that jam nut in between there and the regular nut, the square nut, so we can get this tightened up. So you gotta put that spring, push that spring down so you can get through there. So I'm gonna need two hands right now. So you gotta get these timed just right. These are not equally spaced cogs or whatever you call these things. I'm not very good at naming things or knowing what the names are. So you find the three closest together, and that's these three right here. And when you bring them around to the guide, they help you time them. And see these little notches right here? These help you line it up. Anyway, you line these grooves up, and so we'll do that with the other one, and that'll get it timed just right, or hopefully. So our goal is, this is our kind of our guide, and we only want 3/16 of an inch showing, and I've been doing enough that and kind of doing it by eyeball. Oh, a little too much. All right, so we come along here. Make sure we slide this bushing all the way down. That's one completed row unit. On to the next. Guys, we'll see you later. See you on the next one, and hopefully I get a few more out this next month, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not very reliable. Later. Bye.